First off, before I get started, Pastor makes sure that I call out certain individual people during my message because I can leave and he can't say the things because he has to stay here every day. So if all of a sudden out of the blue I call out someone's name, that's why. He didn't say why I had to call their name out at certain times. He just said I had to do it. Now, the last time I was on this stage was about 13 years ago. Is that right, Jan? 13, 20? I can't keep up. I was getting married right here, actually. I think I stood, I don't know, somewhere right here. I was right here. And I can tell you, as far as nerves go, I was far more nervous then than I am now. I am very privileged to be asked when they called me, and it was just kind of a shock. I was like, absolutely, I love this church, and we've had our church and we have this church, and this has become kind of my secondary church over the years. These past almost 13 years, and I'm glad to be here. I am from South Georgia. We are from South Georgia. I affectionately call it God's country. This isn't wonderful up here. We got water and stuff. Lots of it. And fishing. Who likes to fish here? I love it. I love it. Okay, so last time I was here was 13 years ago. And let me tell you, a lot has changed in my life in 13 years. 3 kids, for one, and kids can change your life forever. But a lot more than that. When I got married, I was thrilled to death to get married because I had found somebody who thought the world of me and accepted me for who I was. Now, she didn't know all that I was when we got married, but she does now. But and I can be honest, in every marriage, I don't know if you guys know this or not, and this may come to a shock to some people, but in every marriage, there is a settler and a reacher. You ever heard this before? A settler. Somebody settles, and somebody's reaching for really more than they should have. I'm the reacher in this relationship. I'm okay with that. Okay? If you don't know which one you are, you're probably the reacher. So, anyways, growing up, one of the things that Jan had to kind of grow up is she kind of grew up with me. So over the years, I had to, thank God, I progressed as a person. But growing up, one of the things that Jan had to accept in my life too is growing up, I grew up and, I didn't have the greatest father figures growing up. I had 2 fathers, had a biological father and my stepfather. And my biological father, at age 4, introduced alcohol and pornography to me at a very young age. Now, I really didn't know what those 2 things were at the time, but I definitely had an image into my mind. My stepfather, at a very young age, was just, let's say at 4, about that same time, was more of a lot of verbal abuse growing up until age 14. A lot of, you're not going to be worth much, you can't do this kind of things in your life. It was just a lot of that put into me over and over the years. Now, I was very fortunate. At age 14, my stepfather got saved, and that kind of went away. But there was like this barrier between us because he knew there was a rough patch in between us, but it was kind of an unspoken kind of thing. And at age 16, my biological father kind of just cut communication a lot with me. So I didn't have this godly example to think of being a father, husband myself growing up. So here I am, years later. I got married and stepped on the stage. And guess what? Those things in my life, those voids in my life, and though I had been saved, those still left some sort of voids in my life that I didn't quite know how to understand. So I got married, and guess what? Those things that all of a sudden just dissipate when I got married and had Haley, they didn't just go away. So I had to kind of work through those things, and it kind of built up in my life, and it was causing me to be, well, let's face it, up until a big portion of my life, it was all about self-preservation. I'm sure there's plenty of people in this room that understand self-preservation, who came from maybe not the greatest childhood, where everything you did was to kind of just preserve yourself. And so when you grow up in self-preservation, you learn not to trust many people. You learn to just stay more towards yourself. And when I came across the stage and got married, those things they really didn't go away. So in our marriage, I'd say up to into the first 6 years of marriage, my priorities were me, my business or making money, then my child, and then my wife, and then there was some other stuff, and then somewhere down there was God. And it was so far down the list, it just was very shameful, I would say. Because it's all about self-preservation for me. It was, and so causing that, it put a turmoil into my marriage, because a marriage isn't about me. And to be a good father, it's not about me either. So I was going down this path of just continuing me, searching for what I thought was creating the self-worth that I needed to fill this void inside myself. What do I have to do to make myself feel better about me? So I'd work harder. I had great success with my business. I produced some national shows up and down the East Coast. It was great, but it took a lot away from my family. It took a lot away from everything. But I was creating something in myself to make myself feel like I had worth. And years later, so about 6 years into our marriage, a pastor friend of mine, I was having lunch with him, and we did this off and on, because let's just face it, you invite me to a barbecue place, I'm going to show up. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to say you're going to pay. I'll show up just to eat with somebody at a barbecue place. And him knowing my past, he said, Michael, you know, the trouble you have with trusting and loving your earthly fathers, don't you think that has a connection on how you see your heavenly Father in your life? And it haunted me. It was one of those things that just blew my mind when he said it, because he knew my story. He knew where I was coming from. He knew the struggles in my life. And he said, once again, do you think the connection between your love and distrust for your earthly fathers has any kind of way you're feeling towards your heavenly Father? And for 2 months of agonizing, just thinking about it, of driving me crazy, he was absolutely right. In my relationship with God, like I go off to church camp or something like that, and I'd be like on a God high, everything's all great, I had a great relationship, things are going on great, and then I'd mess up. Who's ever messed up? You mess up. It's called sin. It happens. And I'd mess up, and I would immediately feel shame and like I'm going to get punished and something like that, and I would pull away. And so I would step away because I just knew that God was going to get me. So I would go from all-time high to all-time low because I didn't trust myself, giving myself my love and trust to God. The same way I felt about my fathers. Incredible. And so after 2 months of thinking about that nonstop, I went back to him. I said, what do you suggest? And he had been saying off and on about this Christian ministry place in Brunswick called Living Well. And I went there for 3 years. And in 3 years, they helped me heal from my past. And basically honestly, what they do is you pull your guts out of you. And that's no other way of saying it. And then put it back in you. And then show you how God's unconditional love for you never changes, no matter what. No matter what. And I went through the first year, and And then John was coming the next year, and I had told Jan, I was like, first year was great. I've changed so much. I think, because I was going every Monday night for 2 hours, I think I'll just stay home and help you with John and more. And she said, no, you're going back for a second year. It was the best thing ever, because it caused me more to reflect more on what had happened to me over the years, and also reflecting on, once again, as my heavenly daddy feels for me, unconditional love for me. And it was quite amazing. Now, what I didn't get a chance to say when I started was this sermon is titled, for those who want to take notes, it's called How to Become a Rich Man. And if I had said that at the beginning, which I didn't, you may have been thinking, okay, Michael, let's get to the rich part. How do we get rich here? How do I get rich in 2015? And here's the answer. When my priorities were all out of whack, riches in my eyes was seeing how much money I could possibly make, to see how successful I could be. And after realizing that I am worth something, and not only am I worth something, I'm worth a lot, because I'm God's child. That makes you a prince, a king. You're worth something if you're a child of God, because God loves you. And I started thinking more into that. Wait, I don't have to put my worth into what people can see, but I can put my worth into God and my worth into my family. And that's where I'm going today. And see, you can try to be rich on this earth, but you're not truly going to be rich that way. I'm going to give you some points here on how you actually can be rich in this world. All right. What is the number one thing? Oh, by the way, I'm going to ask you guys questions. You can answer back if I ask you questions. I'm just putting it out there. All right, just being aware. All right, what is the number one thing people pledge to do each year for a New Year's resolution? It's not lose weight. Everybody says that. I even thought that. It's not lose weight. Okay? It's not lose weight. What else would it be? Just shout it out. Stop smoking? No. What was it? I heard? Save money. Okay, you're close. There's money in there. Make money. There you go. Make money. They want to make more money. And I can tell you, money can't keep you happy. Now, notice I didn't say money can't make you happy. You ever seen somebody upset on a jet ski? They're not. You cannot smile. You're on a jet ski. You cannot help yourself from smiling if you're on a jet ski. But that jet ski can't keep you happy. But money can make you happy real quick. Now, and in fact, if money made you happy, we wouldn't have celebrities and lottery winners. We wouldn't have them getting married 17 times. We wouldn't have them going to rehab a few times. We wouldn't have them committing suicide. Now, they have all the money in the world. Why would they not be happy? Well, I guess money doesn't keep you happy, apparently, because they've got lots of it and they're not. So, if money doesn't keep you happy, what will? And the first thing you need to become a rich man or rich woman would be to have a strong faith. Now, I purposely chose that as number one, to have a strong faith. This is because when everything else fails, Jesus and God will love you unconditionally when all else fails. John 3:16, who knows that one? Anybody know that one? All right, say it. What is it? Gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Everybody knows that. Even if no one's ever heard of the Bible, they know that one. That's a pretty good one. And I like you guys a lot. I wouldn't give one of my kids for any of you. I'm sorry. If I had to choose. And God gave his only Son for us to die a terrible death for us. That's love. That's love. You know what kept Jesus on the cross? Wasn't nails. Wasn't discipline. You know what it was? It was love that kept him on the cross for you. So your heavenly daddy loves you, and he wants you to have a personal relationship with him. He wants you to talk to him for no reason whatsoever. He wants to talk to you about good things. He wants you to talk to him about bad things. He wants you to talk to him like you talk to him during an emergency. Now, you know what I'm saying here when I say during an emergency. Now, if normally when you pray to God, if you have to wait till Sunday and come to a padded pew area first, and you got to make sure you're dressed just right. You got to make sure that your hair, not in my case, is just right. Even though I did my hair this morning, I think it's quite nice. And you have to everything just right. And you make sure that you have to get your this, thou, those, these, and lords in. And no. Talk to God. He wants you to talk to him like you do when you're in dire straits. When you're in dire straits, you say things like, Jesus, save me. Or you say, God, please help him. Please help her. You talk like you're talking to anyone else. And that's how God wants you to talk to him. Like you're on a one-on-one relationship. You're driving down the road. You see a beautiful sunrise or sunset. And you say, God, that is gorgeous. You do wonderful work. Off and on conversations with God throughout the day. You don't have to bow your head, close your eyes, which would be dangerous while you were driving. Just have conversations with God. Reach out to him. Another way that you could grow your faith and how you feel towards God is to read his word. That's the best way. And I can tell you, and if you want to know someone nowadays, if you want to know somebody, you would find out who they were first by going to their what? What? Facebook page, yeah. Who knows what trolling a Facebook page is? That's when you look at a Facebook page to decide whether you want to talk to them or not. Okay, they've got that in common. With God, you don't have the opportunity to just go to his Facebook page and decide, well, maybe I want to. No, but we don't have that today because God's on a Facebook page. But we do have the Bible. And in the Bible, it says it has God's passions, his likes, his dislikes. That's all in the Bible. If you were wanting to know someone, you would want to, if you were going after someone, you would want to know everything about them. You want to know everything what makes them laugh, what makes them hate things. Oh, they don't like white chocolate. I don't like white chocolate. I mean, all these different things that they don't like, and that would help you grow a relationship with them. You should seek God like you seek to know someone when you're falling in love with someone. Constantly seek them. And if you seek God, going through the Bible, picking out different things, learning more about how he thinks, how he sees things, that will help you develop this relationship. The conversation with God will help you develop this relationship with your strong faith. Number 2, second thing to becoming a rich man or woman. Now, this is I hope you guys are ready for this one. This is to make sure your wife or husband adores you. Now, why would that be important? That adores you. This one's hard for me to personally break down because I've never had to work at it. Jan's always thought I did nothing ever wrong. I've always smelled like roses, always. Before I get struck down by lightning where I stand, I'm obviously joking. I've definitely fallen short. I've been a selfish person at times. But it's very important for your spouse to adore you. Now, you need to get to know them. So you need to, most like kind of know God. You need to seek after getting to know your spouse. Now you're saying, no, wait a minute. I've been married for years. I know everything there is to know about my spouse. Does anyone think that's the truth? No, I don't care if you've been married for 50 years. You still don't. All right. In fact, I can prove it right now. Okay. Right now, if you're with your husband or wife, or if you're with somebody who you've known for a very long time, I want you to turn and look them in the eye right now. Do it right now. Look them in the eye. Look at your spouse. Look them in the eye. And as you're looking them in the eye, I want you to say, and you got to look them in the eye, this is the important part. Say, I know everything there is to know about you. Did you notice their eyes shifted away when you said it? Because you don't. You don't. And, when you first get married, you may have this great intention. You guys known each other so well, you got married, and then at that point, you're like, you know what? I think I know them enough. The rest of the stuff will just kind of come out, I'm sure. And you need to seek to know more about them. Guess what? If you grew older with someone, they may have liked tomatoes when they're 15, but they don't like them now. And so you should seek to constantly try to keep knowing them. You don't know everything there is to know about them. You don't. So that is an important point. Secondly, put yourself in a vulnerable position around them and for them. This is a hard one, especially if you've been married for a long time or have some sort of a little bit of a cold heart. To put yourself in a vulnerable position around them. That means if they hurt your feelings or if someone hurt their feelings, and you come, say yourself, put yourself in a vulnerable position. Someone upset me today. And I don't mean like made me mad. I mean like something happened to hurt me at the core. To be vulnerable is to go to them and explain why it hurt. And to make yourself vulnerable to the fact that they could reject what you're saying, and that would hurt you. Or they could accept what you're saying and comfort you. But to put yourself in a vulnerable position for them, that's going to build trust, and that's going to build more love. You know, when the reason why people grow so close together after a funeral, after a death, is because they were vulnerable at that point, and they let someone see them be vulnerable. So put yourself in a vulnerable position around them. Now, the next one, ask them, what's your heart desire? What would you really want to do? What's something you've always wanted to do? Then make sacrifices to try to make that happen. This is a way to have your spouse adore you. I don't care how young or old you are. You still have desires. You still have things you'd like to do in your life. Most of us just coast. Let's just get through life together. Let's just get through it. And you have opportunities to try to make these little things happen. Your spouse can say, you know what, I'd like to lose 50 pounds. Okay, what can I do to help with that? Now, you got to be careful with something like that, though. You guys kind of saw that when I said it too, didn't you? But try to help them achieve their desires. Something that they would want to do, something they have in their heart they've always wanted to do. And that's probably one of those things that they never told you because you never asked. Okay? Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Love your wife, love your husband like you love yourself. Would you hurt yourself? Would you put yourself some of the stuff you put your spouse through? No, you wouldn't. Okay? Part 3. How to become a rich man or woman. Have your children love you. I didn't say like you. Love you. There's a difference. There's a little bit of a difference there. Now, before I go too much in detail about that, I want to touch something real quick. In a marriage, when it comes to children, can everybody see these 3 cups? Right there? No? Okay, all right. Then I'll stand up. In a marriage, you got kids, right? Kids come in the world. You got married, had a kid, all right? You get married, and most people, they make their kids the center of the world, right? Kids are center of the world. Whatever you want to do, sweetie. You know what? I know your dad wanted to do this today, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. Or I know your mom wanted to do this, and this, but you're going to do this first. We're going to put you first. We're going to do this for you, honey. We're going to do this. And then for 18 years, the world revolves around the children. Everything revolves around the children. Then one day, 18 years later, what happens? Oh, the children are gone. But what's left? Empty space. A gap. An empty space. Now, over 18 years, you have grown bitter about that. That your spouse openly said, you know what, I don't care what you want, we're doing this for them. And over 18 years, all you talked about was the child. You really didn't try to grow a relationship, you just talked about the child. What's the child going to do? We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Empty space. 18 years later, a child goes off to school, and next thing you know, you have bitterness and divorce after they go off to college. Suggestion. This is going to blow some people's minds. It might hurt some feelings. Child comes in the world. Notice the child doesn't come before. All right? Put the child in the life. Spouse first, then children. Now, some people, that's going to really hurt their feelings and shake the world. But spouse first, then children. Your spouse should come first, then your children. Because one day, children are going to leave. You still got each other. You're still together. You still talk. There's still something there. So, just thought I'd point that out. Okay. How to have your children love you. Give them whatever they want. Wait. Hey, were you playing with this? You don't do that. You don't put that in there. No, we don't give children whatever they want. I'm playing around. Calm down. It's okay. She immediately got upset. I didn't do it. Once again, I didn't say have them like you. Just love you. Keep your children's love. You need to give them attention. Give them attention. Too many moments in our life we have found ourselves busy while our children's waited in the shadows. They won't wait. They won't wait forever. Put effort into being a good mom or dad. Now, this also goes into when you're getting older and your children are gone too. And I say be putting effort into being a good mom or dad. Just try to make moments memorable. If those of you who are friends with our friends with our family or on Facebook, I don't know, there's a lot of friends words. But we do a lot of stuff with our kids that are necessarily different. Like my son said, I want to watch a movie. Okay. So for some reason, brought the tent inside the living room. We had a fire going. We were pretending we were outdoor camping watching a movie. Little things to make memories. Try to keep their attention. The second thing, take interest in your children's lives. Now, dads, this is mostly for us. As far as dads go, we get the kids up to the point where they can live on their own and kind of go, take over, Mom, you got it. And we just kind of coast. We got them to the point where they can, live off food, and we're good to go. But we don't try to stay engaged in their life. Engaged to give them opportunities on what they say. Now, here's the thing, is that children don't necessarily have to tell you anything. I don't know if you know this or not. But they don't have to tell you anything. My son, John, every day we have dinner together for the most part. And at each dinner, Jan says, John, what'd you do at school today? And he always says what? Nothing. Every single time. Nothing. And for weeks, nothing. This week, out of the blue, he said, I got a girlfriend and she's pretty. Okay? And we took interest in that. We asked him questions. We asked all kind of things like, what's she look like? What's her family do? I think we got a little too much at some point, but we were engaged in what he had to say because kids don't have to tell you anything. When children get older and they come to you and say, Mom, Dad, I met so-and-so and I think I like them. And they didn't have to tell you that. They could have just kept it to themselves and went about their life. So when they tell you something, take interest in it. Act like it's actually important. Because one day, those little bitty things that they're saying will be something big. Like, Mom, Dad, I'm thinking about getting saved. What do you think? Stuff like that. The little things. Be engaged in their life. And praise them when they do well. Moms are great about praising the kids when they do well. Oh, great. You took your shoe off. Great. They're wonderful at praising kids. Dads, it's got to be something awesome sometimes for us to acknowledge that they did something good. So dads, I'm proud of you. In fact, God modeled this I'm proud of you thing as well. There's a little story on a guy called John the Baptist. Y'all ever heard of John the Baptist? Okay, all right. So, John the Baptist baptizing Jesus. Boom. Right? All right, here we go. Mark 1:11. After Jesus was baptized, and a voice came from heaven, You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased. That was God saying, I'm proud of you, son. Attaboy. Children need to hear that things. I don't care how old you are. If your mother or dad is 90 years old and they tell you, I'm proud of you, do you not just light up no matter what? You're proud of me? You'll light up. So that's one way to have your kids love you. And of course, when it comes to rules and be strict, there are rules in the Bible that we should I'm not going to go into detail on every little thing, but if you want your children to come out great in life, follow the rules, keep them in church, and stay true to your rules. Don't bend them. On certain things you can. Okay, you can stay out past 8. There's certain things you don't bend on, and it's for their own good. That's the part where they're not going to like you, but they'll love you for it later. Okay? So, to become a rich man, you need to have a strong faith, aspire to have a wife or husband that loves you or adores you, and have children that love you. And I've got one more story for you. And let me look. See, and the pastor told me that if I didn't quit by a certain time, the music would come on, the microphone would go on the floor. And be honest with you, I'm surprised he's here. The second I seen him today, all he's talking about is being at the beach. So, the fact that he's here is amazing. But I got one more story for you, and let you go and eat into a coma like you normally do on Sundays. Okay? Last story. A successful businessman, very successful, wants to be very successful. So he finds out where his business guru lives, and he flies out to his place. Apparently he's like in Hawaii or something like that. He flies out to his place, and he asks him, he says, look, I just want to be on the same playing field as you. I just want to be somewhat near to be as successful and make as much money as you. What do I got to do? Just anything. Tell me what I got to do. I've flown halfway across the world. Please, tell me what I have to do. And his business guru guy, he said, okay, meet me at the beach at sunrise. He said, okay. It's kind of weird. Okay, I'll meet you at the beach at sunrise. So he met him at the beach at sunrise, and he says, all right, what I want you to do, by the way, this guy's in a suit and tie. Why he showed up at the beach, I don't know. But anyways, he showed up in a suit and tie. He said, all right, I want you to wade out in the water, waist deep. It's like, okay, look, you're the business guru. I'll do what you say. So he wades out in this water, waist deep. He's standing there. He's like, all right, now what? He goes, okay, now I want you to go chest high. So he gets chest high in the water. And he goes, okay, well, I didn't come to swim today. I come to learn how to be successful and make money. He goes, okay, I want you to go out now right to your nose. So he, once again, goes out in the water, nose high, right there. He only breathed through his nose. Then his guru says, I want you to go where the water's over your head now. So he steps down in the water. Now the water's over his head. The guru jumps on top of his head and is pushing his head down in the water. He's fighting for all his life. He's hitting him. He's kicking him. He's trying to get somewhere where he can get some air. I mean, he's holding him down there. So his business guru is just holding him down there. He's fighting for everything he can. And finally, at the very last minute, we realized the guy wasn't quite fighting as hard as he used to. He let him go, and he came up and just kind of laid out on the shore and just... And the business guru said, what were you thinking about when I was holding your head underwater like that? What was he thinking about? What was he thinking about? What? He's thinking about dying? What was he wanting more than anything? He wanted air. What's another way of saying he wanted air? He wanted to breathe. He wanted to breathe. And he said, I wanted to breathe. And here's the point. If you want to be a rich man, woman, if you want to have a strong faith, you want to have a wife that adores you and children that love you, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes like you want to breathe. Like there's nothing you won't do to make it happen. There are things in your life now that keep you from being more active in the church, or just say active with God. Let's just say active with God in the Word, doing more in the community to help. And I mean, there are so many different things that are keeping you from doing what you know you need to do. And you need to seek God. Seek to have a better relationship in your family like you need to breathe. Like you need to breathe. Only then will you finally put things out of your mind on what you really need to do in your life to get focused on God. To do it as if you need to breathe. If the musician will come up. I ask you, I've had a little fun here this morning, but how badly do you need to breathe? Pretty badly. So, I ask you, are you at that point in your life where you need to breathe like you need to see God? That you need that in your life?